get very good yields from them. Okay, now these mounds, as we saw, they usually appear on a slope, and we want to say that because of the rain, because of the water, it can drain quite easily. That's one advantage for it to be built on this slope. And the other, of course, is that it's on sandy soil, which is very porous, so the water goes, it doesn't stay, it goes through quickly, and of course, it doesn't affect the vegetation, the plants that are grown on it. As I said, usually they're found near tributaries, and we want to say that, I would like to say that because of the soil that is found over the years, the soil that is washed down by heavy rains on these tributaries, and they flood, and then they dry, those soils are much more fertile than the ones up on the slope, because all been washed down. So that now is taken and moved onto higher ground and planted. They're approximately 4 feet, sometimes more, sometimes less. I want to think that the older ones would be lesser, just barely discernible, and maybe just spread out like that. The long mounds, as you saw, they appear principally in swampy areas, and there's a reason for that as well. I have noticed with the long mounds, the back of the Fort Nassau, is that the mounds are cut so that they connect to a tributary, a creek. Now the reason for that is when it floods, all the fish comes up, the creek goes up in the trenches of the long mounds, and they spawn and they remain there. The people will trap them in there, and then when it dries, they will bit by bit collect fishes from them. And as a child, St. Thomas, where I was born, there are 4, literally 4 ponds around the village, which we would every year, as we say, dry season, we will go to, and we will collect fishes from them. And it's a kind of fish cultivation. It's in itself a way of cultivating fish. And again, it's a way. It's what was done in the Yucatan. It's the Yucatan, again, the part of the Yucatan, where they have used this kind of technique for cultivating fishes. Today, what we have not seen so far, what I know about, and what we have not seen, is plants, gardens that are constructed and floating over water, like a hydroponic system. But that system, I know, has been used in Middle America. But we have no evidence of that as yet. Okay. Well, who are these people? You know, we say that there's a very big extent of racial complex, thousands of these. Who are these people? Where do they live? Is one of the questions I'd like to know. And we're trying to do that bit by bit. And we try to find out. This is where we look for habitation sites, and we do our surveys, and we try to find out where people are. When we find pottery in one place, pottery is a good indicator that someone might have stayed long enough to be able to make pots and live there. So we're in that process. We're trying to now build a map where people might have lived, that those people might have been cultivating these mounds. When were they constructed? Of course, we got 2 dates so far. I think I have a feeling that it's going to go further back a bit. We've got 1,800 years, and then the last one we got 3,000 before present. So as we expand our research, we haven't done the Kanjias yet, we haven't touched the Bidi pasture, and I'm sure as we go extended further from the Dutch ports and so on, I think we'll get some older dates as we go ahead. What are the plants that were grown there? Sadly to say that we have not been able to do the soil samples that we got from Dublin, but we're going to do them. And the soil samples will give us an indication of what plants might have been there. We look for starch remains from vessels and so on that we've collected, and we're still in the process of doing that. Now, that was one aspect of our research, the raised fields and the long mounds. Now we come to a much more complex situation where we discovered, and in 1986 I had done, I had taken some samples from a road cut. You know, in the interior, when they've been pulling logs over and over and over, it cuts into the ground, so there's a nice wall. And in my field work at Hitcher, I came across some of this this very dark earth pottery. I didn't have a clue what it was, but I brought it back to the Workshop Museum. Yes, maybe it was it was shipped in and so on. So we left it. But there are two places now that we found this very special dark earth. This earth, this soil that has been cultivated, that's been made by man, and that has been used for planting. I said initially that the soil is very acid, it's very infertile, the Amazon soil, but man has been able to use fertilizer much like organic farming, gardening. So he's done this very rich over 1,000 years doing this stuff, and that's where we are. And I would like to now introduce this other aspect of the research. We can skip this one. Okay, we can skip that. Yeah. Now, Dublin, and I would like to say publicly that I really do appreciate the kindness of the Mendes family who allowed us to work on their plantation at Dublin, and we did this very major excavation last year, and who's watching over and protecting the archaeological site there. So we have done work at Dublin, which is in Turkey, and then we want to start looking at Hitcher. Remember I said that we're looking now for where people live. Who are these people? Who built this mound? Where do they live? Sorry. Sorry. So we're now around the village trying to find in the savannahs and thereabouts pottery that might be in the sand. We're doing the survey. We use a technique, very not primitive, but it's a technique that works. We literally just feed water plates, and we lose our glasses in the process, in the savannahs. And sometimes you can see the pottery in the ground, sometimes you don't. So in my experience, what I do in the open savannahs, I look for armadillo holes. And armadillos are very good guys who go down in the ground and dig up, and long before they will bring up bits and pieces of pottery. And I do literally go looking for these holes, and in instances like that, we have found a couple of sites at Dublin outside the therapeutic site. So we want to build a map to see where people live between here and here. We know this is the Maroon Creek. We know people. We know this red hill that I mentioned earlier on. We know people live here. The evidence is there. The pottery is on the ground, and we've just taken notice of it, and we know that. And from our calculation, these two main, this area, this Hitcher village, and the Biruni village here, is about 3 hours distance away. And I gather that we can walk from Dublin right across the Hitcher and to the Biruni Creek from there. So it looks as if in the past we would have been connected by this by villages, and I think that is going to be a very interesting research that will develop to show where people live in relationship to the mounds. Next. Okay, here, Jan. I said I done in '86. I followed the Van Berkel travels in 17 something from across the Demerara to the Berbice, and I tried to retrace that. And this is when I realized that we couldn't walk across from I couldn't walk across from upper Maipuli River to the Berbice. I could walk so far, but I had to get a canoe and paddle across and ended up at Kitcha. And I did this in '86, and this one. And I came up with this, what I just told you in '86. This is notes from my field notebook. If you notice, I was looking at this, this is value 7. This is about the time that I was learning to paint, and I was learning to use the value scale, the Munsell value scale, which goes from white to black. And so I use that system without realizing it's a system that is used in archaeology for looking at soil, at the values and the light or darkness of the soil. So I use that system, and here, as you can see, at 330 centimeters, you can see the shards, the piece of pottery is still there, but not as plentiful as if it was at the high towards the surface. So there, and then right at the bottom, there's this reddish soil that comes in, orange reddish soil, dark orange sandy soil mixed with clay, it says. So that is from my notebook from '86, and we left it there. We didn't go back to it until 2009, basically. In 2009, I invited Dr. Heckenberger to come over with Neil and myself, and we went down to this where I knew that there was this. I found the pottery, and it was this dark soil, the Berbice soil, which I didn't know anything about. And so Mike was very, very excited, and we did a couple, but as you can see, it's not very deep here. This is high up, further down towards it's like that. So we're kind of top of the hill. Here you can see these spots here are pottery remains. That's the process we do. We dig and then we shape through the sickle and collect the pottery that will come. Here you go. That's the terracotta. That's the pottery that's found in it. And that's your white sand, very white, infertile, lovely sand for building houses. And I said, now we just realized that there's a lot of excavation being done, sand excavation. Lots of three or so active sand pits where it's been dug and transported to the coast as a building material. I think this is a comparison between French Guyana, terracotta, and of course that's terracotta in French Guyana, that's terracotta in Guyana at Kitcha. Okay, that's your value scale. It shows how light it is, and then it comes a bit dark here. So gives you a pretty good idea of the coloration. Next one. Okay, this is last year at Dubai.